I got very blue. Oh, there it
Oh,
is.
very blue. I'm still fixing my
There.
hair. This is awful. All right, we're live.
Ugh.
How are
Sorry
you?
about that.
No
I
worries.
was taking the
No
dog
worries.
for a walk, and then I came home super. There's my headphones. My better headphones to use, but oh well, I'm good.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. How are you
How's the
doing?
dog?
Dog's good.
Yeah,
Well walked.
well walked, enjoying the heat.
Yeah. 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 It's pretty warm out there.
It is.
Um.
What's new?
But yeah. What's
Did
new?
did did you buy like an M4? Did you pre-order anything from Apple?
I
No.
did.
Oh, you did. Oh,
I
you
did.
did. Okay, okay.
I did.
I have
Yeah.
an M4.
Did you? Did you buy
No,
anything?
I still got the Ultra, so I can't. I gotta hold off at least a generation. But I'm using the
Yeah.
heck out of it already. So yeah. What'd you get?
So my iPad is where's my iPad? My iPad is a MacBook Pro.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry, not iPad, iPad. My iPad is an
iPad
iPad
Pro.
Pro.
Yeah.
But it's the first gen.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's the second gen. I bought a first gen 12-inch and then returned it almost immediately because I knew there was like a next version coming out like the next month, and it actually took like 4 months.
Right.
Um, and so I ended up getting the second generation, but the smaller size than the 9.5 inch, or I think it was.
Something like that. It's basically 10
Yeah.
inches. So
Oh
yours
no,
has the
that was the generation before the 10-inch.
okay, but it's Lightning, not Thunderbolt, right? Or
It's
USB-C?
Lightning. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I think I've got the generation right after that, the 3.
Mm. Yeah, and for the most part, it's still good. It's still as powerful, but there's more and more apps that just don't work. Won't
Oh,
even They won't
really?
even install.
Wow.
Like like Final Cut on the iPad won't even install if you don't have a M1 or Apple Silicon, I think. Or
Right.
maybe it just needs a newer iPad than what I have.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
there's a and there's a
Hmm.
whole. So I knew I was gonna get a new iPad,
Mhm.
um, and uh, and so uh, a month ago or 2 months ago we thought the event was gonna happen. Okay, well, whenever
Right.
they announce it, I'm just gonna buy it. And then finally today shows up, and it's like, okay, assuming it's not super crazy expensive. I mean,
Right.
it's expensive, but not in too insane. Then I'll just go ahead and get it. And I ended up getting the iPad Pro,
Mhm.
um, the uh, with a nano texture glass,
Right.
which only comes if you get the 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes. So I got the one.
Okay.
So that's a bump up um,
In cost, yeah, yeah.
in
For
cost,
the
yeah.
storage,
And
yeah.
that comes with the bump in the M4 processor. There's two
Right.
processors. There's the lower one and
Right.
so like one core. Um, and yeah, so that's what I got, because the one I had before was let's say the first second gen iPad Pro with 512
Mhm.
gigs, which was kind of at the like extreme end back then, which
Right.
was I think 2016, 2017.
Sounds about right.
Um, and so it's I wouldn't say it's I that's kind of a good-ish number. So I would imagine, in a few years, 1 terabyte will be like the good number to get anyway.
A couple of things. I
Um,
mean, it's been 8 years, which is pretty good for a mobile device,
yeah,
but
yeah.
how often do you use it if it's lasted that long?
Almost every day.
Okay, okay. So you're a power user, so it's
So
okay.
I still like, there's apps like Calipeg and some stuff in Procreate Dreams I can use.
Right,
A lot of stuff is there's some features that just won't work.
right,
But for the most part, I use a lot of those animation tools within my videos.
right.
Anytime there's any sort of pen drawing a line on the screen, it's with that 8-year-old iPad.
And
Um,
so I'm assuming you're using the Apple Pen as well? Is it 1st
yeah,
gen, 2nd gen
yeah,
on that one?
it's first gen Apple
Okay.
Pencil. the only one that existed at the same time at that time. So the
Right.
one you have to stick in the iPad to charge up,
Yes.
which I have to stick in the iPad every day.
Right.
And I have to have the tablet plugged in almost all the time because um, it's always dead. It lasts for the battery lasts for like 40 minutes to an hour.
Well, yeah, I think I'm in the
So
same
it's
boat.
always
So
plugged
mine
in.
lasts about an hour. And what I've been thinking is I should just go get a new battery because I've got the first
Hmm.
M1, I think, iPad Pro.
Okay.
So I do use it a lot, mostly for drawing, similar to you, but
Hmm.
mostly in I'm trying to think of the Moleskine app. I forget Flow, I think it's called.
Hmm.
Moleskine Flow is what I use it a lot for, and
Right.
it's stuck, and I really like it, but I don't think I need to upgrade currently. Like I thought I was a power user, but the M2
Hmm.
gobbles up most of what I'm trying to throw at it. So
Yeah.
for now, it's okay, but the battery does need some help. So I think I just might take it in for repair. That's what I was thinking. As somebody who just purchased 2 new tube lights, I'm like, no, you can't. You cannot afford another iPad
Yeah.
or like the executive brain won't let the creative brain afford
Yeah.
a new iPad kind of thing. But
Yeah.
it
But
does
I
look
think, I
awesome.
mean, the iPads, I mean, so some people are like saying, "Oh, well, it's not much of a spec jump, and it's incredible price jump." But I mean, yeah, if you're the kind of person that even considers upgrading every 1 to 2, maybe 3 versions, yeah, it's not enough to
Right.
justify upgrading. But if you're on that,
I think you're overdue.
as I say, second gen iPad Pro
Mhm.
before it's Apple Silicon, I feel like that is, I mean, assuming you still use it. If you're not using the features, you're not going to, yeah, don't get it. It's a waste.
And this is
But
how we justify purchases, folks.
sure, yeah.
I did want to just give a quick note that there's a lot of comments in the chat that I have not read yet, but I did see the last one. Thanks for tuning in at 11 minutes past midnight in Russia. Appreciate that.
Wow.
That's dedication.
Spasiba. Spasiba
Spasiba.
большое for coming here.
Bodyguarding.
That's the one part of my the fact that I have a degree in Russian language. That's all I can really say.
I was throwing you a bone, and that's all you got for
Yeah,
us.
that's all I got. Я люблю говорить по-русски.
There we go.
That's
Not
the
only
phrase that I had
the
to keep
tone, but the
repeating in
intonation. Yeah,
school.
pretty good. Pretty good. I do wonder though, like not to like make this about DevOps or AI, but do you find that because I use it for creative work, right? Like when
Uh-huh,
I'm on my iPad, I
uh-huh.
use it for creative work. The only thing that I use it for that's like even slightly related to work is using the ChatGPT app with the you can just touch to talk basically on Mac. I think it's just dictation. So
Mm,
I could use my iPhone, but when I'm playing video games, I will have little like chat sessions on the side where I'm just speaking to it between rounds and stuff like that. And I will
mhm,
have it like full on make repos and stuff like that, be it with
mm,
ChatGPT or Notion or Canva. I've actually
mhm.
had a pretty fun time sort of having a conversation, like an asynchronous conversation on the side with the app on the iPad. And I think because it's
Oh, okay.
larger, it makes sense. Anything
Yeah.
smaller wouldn't. A portable monitor would probably be fine with some sort of microphone. But
Mhm,
I really did enjoy that. Like I recall making like a 70-page document about some fake Terraform repo in ChatGPT, and it was awesome. I
yeah.
felt like that experience to me on the iPad, and it doesn't really need to be powerful, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Sure,
But
sure.
that form factor with the OS and the
Yeah.
online capability is really interesting, and it made me think like, do you need like just a cheaper tablet with internet access? Would that help
Mhm.
this use case out? Because I really do find it interesting. I could like if I'm playing Street Fighter, I could ask it, hey, give me 3 strategies of pros that are like
Oh, yeah.
competent right now. That kind of stuff is pretty interesting when you can frame it
Yeah.
a little bit differently. You can get a lot of information basically. Anyway, specifically for asking about DevOps stuff while I'm
Yeah.
exercising a different part of the brain, I thought it was kind of neat.
Hmm.
But that's
That
all I got.
is
Like that's the
a
only thing related
yeah.
to work. I've tried Prompt. I've tried there's Code 9 has like a cool thing.
Mhm.
There's the Azure portal. Datadog has a mobile app. Again, not to throw any shade its way, but like honestly,
Mhm.
a lot of what I get out of it is just I find it more of a less of a consumption device and more of a
Yeah.
creative device. Although I will say
Yeah.
I watch YouTube on it quite a bit while I'm eating lunch, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Yeah,
As a mobile
I would
TV, I guess.
say my creation to consumption ratio, I would say
Mhm.
I create 2 to 3 times longer than consuming. on the iPad.
Right.
But as you were just describing that situation, the thing that it reminded me of before the iPad Pro, when it was just a
Mhm.
regular iPad, I don't know which version it was, but I remember we were driving. Or I was I was sitting in the back seat. I was trying to get ready for. I was doing something for work. This was before Datadog, so I think I was working at a company called Playster,
Okay.
and I was um, trying to update a customer's website, and I was doing it from my iPad, SSH'd into their servers.
I always gotta remember, like, you're like 6'2" or 6'3", right? So you in the back of a car,
4.
period, six
Yeah.
foot four, makes me think that you're already cramped, right? So this is
Yeah,
large guy with
and
a
now
pretty
I'm
big tablet,
typing
but
on the screen. Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
No, yeah,
I could just imagine you being in the back of like a Tesla. What is it, the one that all the Ubers have that has like no legroom in the back for some
right,
reason?
yeah,
Even me, it's horrible.
yeah,
Yeah, I just can't imagine. But SSHing, like I have done that, and Prompt is kind of
mhm,
the app that I use for it, though I
yeah.
find I use it more on
It's
my
always been
phone.
Prompt from Panic, is it?
Yeah, I just really like
Yeah,
Panic software. I think it is.
yeah.
I know you've got the Playdate, and I know that there's
Yeah.
there's a recent announcement. I think they went over 1,000 games on the Playdate or something like
Oh,
that.
really? And
Yeah, it's
what there
incredible.
must be at least one that doesn't suck.
There's got to be at least two, as far as I could tell from
2, yeah,
from the show I saw. There wasn't a. I'm derailing a little bit here, but there wasn't a fishing game on that list, which I was really
yeah.
disappointed by. But yeah, Panic's awesome, and for me, it
Yeah,
was really that killer app, I guess, for the iPhone back in the day when it came out. Is like
right.
I can actually SSH in, do something really quick, save a macro, run a
Yep,
macro, restart a
yep.
service real quick. Hit up, use tab. Like those are two things that people don't seem to understand that I need. I need the last command and I need like completion on my phone. But that's where
Yeah,
I kind of use it. I really want to like Code9, which is like Amazon sort of
yeah.
all encompassing IDE that lets you do a bunch of stuff, but really
Code9 or Cloud it was Cloud9, right?
oh shoot, I think it is Cloud9.
Yeah.
There
But, I
might
mean,
actually be a
that was the
yep,
company before they acquired it,
correct. And I don't
which
think it's changed
they don't they
since.
call it oh, do they still call it Cloud9?
They do, yeah, but
Okay.
I don't think the app has changed since is the issue,
Mm,
and now that I said this, like, I have to make sure it's true,
yeah,
but, like, it felt like the old Amazon UI, and it wasn't the end of the world, just
mhm,
stuff took 2 or 3 seconds to load all the
yeah.
time as opposed to being fast, but
I just
the
remember when I was still doing a lot of serverless talks at
right?
Datadog, I was using that because that was the editor in the serverless in the Lambda
Yeah,
UI
yeah,
3 years ago. I assume it's I
I
would
think
have
it's
thought it
yes.
would have been improved since then, but maybe not.
Yeah, no, the web UI stuff is amazing. In fact, I brought it up because I was just testing a game day kind of thing with
Hmm,
AWS recently, and I really did enjoy that space. I thought it was good. It's been improved quite
yeah,
a bit, but I don't think the app has been improved. Which is again, I'll have to test it.
yeah.
But it feels like one of those things that's really getting some attention on the web. And I guess where I was going with this is that you're talking about some apps that don't necessarily work very well on the iPad, but between 2016 and now, it feels like a lot of companies are moving to mobile-ready websites. I'm sure there's a better term for this, but a
Mm,
website that kinda has all that stuff in it,
right.
and I would be surprised if Cloud9 IDE didn't run just on the web in a browser on a Mac,
Mhm.
which, I mean, it's neither here nor there, but yeah, makes a
Yeah,
decent.
I mean, I think for an iPad, it's I
Mhm,
mean, unless you have I mean, if you have the cell connection as well, I mean,
right,
that bumps up the price, so, of course,
right.
I did get the cell, Wi-Fi and, mobile reception.
Yep,
Um, but even then, sometimes I mean, on this island, I mean, uh, last week, when was it? It was on Thursday, I think it was, um, uh, there was apparently there was some group of thugs cut a cable, and I don't know if this was the actual cable that it looked like they had dug up some cable on the side of the road, like nothing special,
okay,
looking for copper.
right.
And because that was the photo in the article, it was just like this little nothing special cable, but that was the cable for all of Bainbridge Island and
Ah,
Poulsbo and all the way up to Hansville, like this massive area. A couple 100,000 people affected
Oh,
because they were looking for copper. And we were down for about, I got the notification about 5 a.m. and it came back up around 4 p.m.
wow.
Um,
That's a whole day of
so
work. That would
yeah.
be that could be disastrous for me.
So so it was interesting that it was like an amazing ad for there's this the main provider on the island is Xfinity,
Okay.
Comcast.
Yep.
And that's what I have. I have the gigabit service from Comcast, which is 1 gigabit download, 30 megabit upload, which is the fastest you can get, which sucks for doing stuff like this.
Mhm.
And then, but then you can get from Kitsap Public Utility District, you can get their gigabit fiber, um, and their service was fine. It was totally unaffected by
Oh,
any outage.
right, right.
But anybody with Xfinity, which is like most people,
Mhm.
they were down, and so most of the shops along the main drag in Bainbridge were all down. Like even their cash registers, because so many of them use
Right.
whatever
Clover,
Clover
what have
or
you,
all
Square.
these different
Yeah.
companies that require a network connection in order to even function, to even open up the cash register.
Right.
You need to have that network connection. And so they were all down. They were, the coffee shop was writing everything down, pulling money off a stack of $1 bills, and that's how they were running their business. Um, and um, but then the library and a few other places, Barn, the kind of makerspace, had this fiber, and their parking lots were packed. The library said haven't seen this many people in the library in years.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
The
So
people are getting a little bit unruly in the chat here.
yeah.
They're saying we're getting famous and ignoring them. So I did look through quite a bit. There's some I don't know, contest
Eurovision.
over who's is earliest. Yeah, who's awake
Yep.
the earliest. Eurovision. Talking about Samsung peaking at the Note 9, which like I'm here for. That was the last product that shipped 3 of the services that I worked on in it. So I love it. Thanks, Nate. The other was I think that's about it. Some talk about tablets, and then asking about who we are, which is fair.
Knowing that Eurovision is on right now makes a lot of sense, because all of a sudden I saw this video in my feed that was like the original Riverdance thing, which was apparently in Eurovision.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
It was like it wasn't in the competition. It was just like this act between acts, this like intermission act,
Oh,
in Dublin, when it was in Dublin. But
right on. I'm
like,
here for
why am I
Celtic
looking at this?
dancing. Yeah, I grew up on it, and it's pretty cool to watch. Honestly, they put
Yeah.
swords on the ground, they dance around them. It's pretty neat.
So what else is in the
I think that's it. I think we covered
famous
it.
onto our heads?
Yeah, you found it. Which is fair.
So AI more prominent. It would be interesting to see. I mean, there was mention of this will help AI workflows, and they
Right.
had an example from Procreate, I think Procreate or somebody else, about something AI related, except I don't think it was really AI related. AI related in marketing speak. But I I'm curious. I wonder what are they going to announce at WWDC that really becomes like AI specific. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff. What's it, MXC or MCX or something? That's um,
Hmm. No.
a language model framework for Apple Silicon.
Oh.
Um, and I saw something today. I think it was like iTop or Intelligent Top or Intelligent Desk or something like that. It
Mhm.
was for using MXC, MLX, MXC. There's an M and there's an X, and using it for training and fine tuning models. So I saw that
Interesting.
pop up on GitHub this morning, or it's
Okay.
probably been out for a while, but so it'd
Yeah,
be
they do say
interesting.
in Final Cut that you get some like
Yeah.
neural engine increases, but I'm just on the page kind of scrolling through. I don't see too much in here. They say it will help Octane rendering. I'm not sure who's rendering Octane on the iPad, but
Yeah.
listen, if you're doing it, awesome.
Awesome.
The other is like increased performance of that Diablo mobile game that people were we're not fans of. But I'm looking at the footage of the game, and it looks pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
I feel like I should try it.
yeah,
I'm here for mobile games, but yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of it. There's a lot of talk about things for environmental, like their packaging stuff like that, which is good. MLX,
MLX,
okay,
yeah.
there we go. Thanks, Avidcaster. Uh, and then the other in here is just like increases for popular codecs. So HEVC, ProRes, H.264, and then AV1 has been added, which is, I mean, that's cool. So it's on chip, on die.
Yep.
But I don't know. Is anything streaming using AV1 yet? I thought.
I don't even know what AV1 is.
Oh, AV1 is is it motion ping instead of motion JPEG? I think is the I'm probably saying this all wrong. It's essentially a new codec that is a different way to look at pictures in sequence. I think the difference is that we're normally calculating the difference between two JPEGs or multiple JPEGs is how motion JPEGs or MP4 works. I believe it's something different. I thought it was mping, but I would have to look it up. But essentially, it's a different way to think about images in a sequence and how they may be transformed. That being said, it's quite a bit faster, and file sizes are smaller as long as it's supported by the CPU, which seems to be the case now.
Right.
Which is good. But yeah, there's not too much on here other than that. They say there's increase in performance on Logic Pro, but again, I don't know who's doing a whole lot of Logic Pro on their mobile device.
Some of the Logic Pro stuff looked pretty cool.
For sure, but like at some point in time, you run out of screen real estate. Have you heard this? Another tangent here, but have you heard this thing like this is a big computer task that people are talking about these days? Apparently, this is from our generation. Like when you do your banking, do you go to use your laptop as opposed to your phone? I think this is a common example. Okay, me too. But like if I'm looking to build a PC, that kind of thing, that's a big computer task. To me, Logic Pro is a big computer task, mostly because I need a lot of windows and like there's a lot of plugins and things that I need to close and open all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe not Final Cut Pro because I'm just not that advanced in it. But I feel like you might be like a big person, a big laptop computer or whatever, big computer.
There's a few things that I sometimes use LumaFusion for today.
Interesting. Okay.
One of them is one of them is deals with how they license. There's a you can get access to like pretty much the full story blocks for $60 a year.
Oh, nice.
If you go through LumaFusion, or there's a few other, you can also do it through ScreenFlow.
Gotcha.
So
and
it's
Storyblocks is that one that has like it's what do you call it? It's for video and sound.
Stock video.
Yeah.
And they've got like an enormous collection, and the license is very clear that once you've used this with LumaFusion, you can then re-edit wherever.
That's pretty cool.
So it's a nice little.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I guess there's
because I think it's like $50 a month anyway.
Yeah, it's not cheap, like at all. I did look into it, and I was like, nah, I'll just film my own videos or something.
It's cheaper to buy an iPad and get LumaFusion.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Save money. One person did ask a pretty good technical question, I think, and this is probably more for you than for me as a person with more experience in it. They're asking what your opinion on retrieval augmented generation or large context for local LLMs for coding assistance. No, I think this is this versus that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I understand the question properly.
Before, in fact, I think I mentioned this last time around. Before, I was thinking, okay, well, I think most of the tools out there don't really even use RAG for coding assistance. I think, what's his name? Quinn, who is CEO at, Quinn is CEO at SourceGraph. SourceGraph, I think it is. They have something that is available. I'm not sure if they finally figured out whether it's all local or local and online for some of the RAG stuff. but I think a lot of the tools don't even do that, or they just rely on the model to have that knowledge in them.
Right.
But whenever you're like Copilot, mostly relies on the model itself to come up with the knowledge about how to create a function. And so often
Right.
you get, a function example, but it's using variables that don't make any sense for
Right.
your application, and you have to go and kind of fix it and munch it. And that's the case with a lot of other tools as well. And the one thing that I've seen that's using a large context plus RAG
Hmm.
that works really astonishingly well, like shockingly well. It is
Yeah.
so good. And that is Super Maven.
Really? Huh.
And that's $10 a month.
It's not even on
It's
my
a
radar.
30-day trial. I think my
Okay.
trial ends in like 3 days.
All
But I
right.
will be paying for it. It is an online system, so you have to be okay with sharing your code online. It's basically by so the original before
Hmm.
Copilot, before GitHub Copilot,
Right.
um, the first one of these kind of AI engines for working with your code was really Tab9. They were the first ones to really start this,
Right.
and the guy from Tab9 left and started up Super Maven.
Oh, interesting.
So I think it's like the founder or co-found, one of the initial people at
Right.
Tab9 started up Super Maven to like fix his mistakes and make an even better thing. It's using a very different model architecture, and it has a 300,000 token context size,
Oh,
which is
wow.
massive.
Well, that's a game
Um,
changer right there.
yeah,
I would say, yeah, that context size makes you be able to do things completely different.
yeah,
Bodyguard is
it's
mentioning a couple things in here about like adding books or archives and stuff like that. But I
mhm,
think as a singular developer, it makes sense. But I think if you've got a coding practice for your team, that's where it started to make sense with me, at least when I was testing Tab
yeah,
9. But I could see this make sense as well.
yeah. And then, I mean, yeah, with RAG, I mean, you can download documentation, but it's really important to start um, like tagging one of the nice
Right.
things that I saw with, I think it was Open Web UI, is where you can upload content to or add content to the RAG system and
Hmm.
then tag it with different tags. And that way, when you ask a question, you could say, ask it to this collection of documents. That way, it stays on. It's very easy to put too much stuff into the RAG system and try to
Right.
search everything, and you
Right.
end up just getting garbage out
Yep.
because it's just garbage in, garbage out. Um, and you really need to somehow limit what you do in that search. And so OpenWeb UI had a nice little way of tagging the content and then only searching what's tagged. Um, so filtering down before it does the search. Actually, I think it's using ChromaDB for that.
Oh, that makes sense.
Um, so yeah.
And then the follow-up from Bodyguardic was about using WikiLake databases, which I think is just having a bunch of wiki stuff in the database. Correct me if
Mm,
I'm wrong, but I think that's kind of getting towards what I was thinking is like adding a PDF is one thing, but there's no metadata or markup, there's no classification, so it makes it
yeah,
difficult to understand. Like if there's a summary, a preamble, that kind of stuff is all garbage, basically.
yeah.
The wiki stuff, I think, if properly tagged and set up right, like in a real
Mhm,
information design way, I think could be quite powerful. So that's sort of where I was expecting you to go. So
yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting to me. I'd like to
It
try that out.
like, it's really easy to add if you read a lot of I mean, if you maybe not even read the full book, but you, like, collect a lot of books of different topics,
Mhm.
it's very easy to get if the RAG system is searching through all of that, it's very easy to get really confused because,
Right.
I remember when I first started playing when Chroma first came out, and I started playing around with that as an example for Ollama. um, Throwing in, I just added like I picked 5 random PDFs, I threw it into the thing, and I did a quick search. It's like, tell me about Transformers, and it just happened to the PDFs I happened to add were the attention
Of course.
document,
Yep.
um, and my
Attention is
like
everything. Yeah.
introduction to electronics,
Mhm.
and and some of the words that are used are like shared in both of these books, and
Yes.
so I ended up getting this thing that was beautifully written, just made no sense because it was a little bit of electronics and a little bit of
Right.
um, AI stuff jumbled up in a way that read like intelligently, but wrong.
Right, because it didn't understand the context
It
difference
doesn't understand the
between
context. Yeah.
like AI research and an electrical transformer.
Yeah. And so you need to in building that RAG system, you need to come up with a way of saying, okay, well, this if the person is asking about transformers, either take
Right,
into context what he's been talking about before, or what he tends to ask questions about, or somehow you need to figure out what is the context of this
right.
question, so you know to filter down. And I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's
LangChain.
yeah. No.
Mixture of experts. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Llama Index?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be
So
some
it's
sort of
hard.
logic in there, right? Or if
Yeah.
if it's a mixture of experts, like not Mistral, but if you're making something similar to that using different models, and you
Right.
need to understand where it goes.
Like there was an exam. One of the code samples I did,
Hmm.
um, I think in November or October, was about if you ask a question about certain types of art. Tell me about how Renoir did something at this in this age, time range, and have the model analyze the question first,
Right,
pull out the metadata that, okay, well,
right,
there's a date in here, so only look at art between 1862 and 1865. There's an artist mentioned in here, so only look at things Fry Renoir. And then that will filter down the database, and then do the search based on that. um, and you could somebody mentions Airbyte.
plug for everybody. Yeah,
There's so many. You could do it with you
Postgres,
it they're all the same.
Airbyte.
They're essentially
Is
all the
Weaviate
same.
another one? Yeah,
Yeah.
Pinecone.
Uh I I originally was thinking of doing like a comparison between all these databases, and like you look at two or three of them, it's like they're all the same. There's nothing. I mean, you have to really dig down into the weeds before you get anything that's unique about any of them, and so might as well go with the easiest, whatever you've been told to use.
Yeah, so there's like the fastest and the one that's the easiest to get started with, and it feels like if you're sorting by those two, there's only a few of
Yeah.
them that kind of work out. I think the other is like familiarity with the tool. So for me,
Mhm.
Postgres makes a lot more sense
Sure.
with
Yeah.
a plugin. I think it's pgvert, but yeah, just
Yeah.
adding in a plugin to use something that you know already, I think makes more sense than
Right.
anything else. I
Or
think what
like
Bodyguard is.
Chroma
Yep,
is just an extension on top of SQLite.
right, right.
Um,
And what Bodyguard is saying is that it's got that any to any built in,
mhm.
and I think that if you're trying to get started really quickly, that may be a feature for you.
Mhm.
But do you think we're like just going back to the sorry, iPad for a moment.
Oh,
I'm trying
yeah?
to say AirPad for a second. iPad for a moment. 1 terabyte of storage is a lot, and I do use a lot of storage on my iPad, but I think I'm close to 512 gigs right now. Like
Mhm.
soup to nuts, everything I own on the iPad, and I still got a ton of space left. Is the storage for you on a mobile device like that important, or maybe just like a hurdle that you had to get to in order to get the processor and screen size
I don't
to keep it?
know.
Okay.
So I'm on a 512, is it 512? 500 something gig,
Mhm.
iPad Pro from 8 years ago, and every now and then I have to pull stuff off.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of, even though I can't do a lot of things on there, I do have to think about storage. And, well, I guess I kind of think of it as like buying a MacBook Pro.
Right.
Yes, you can attach external disks, but it never makes sense. I mean, it's always slower.
Mhm.
It's always
Sorry, I keep
a pain,
dropping
and
songs.
the cable comes out,
Yeah.
and there's always these problems. And so, well, we can Velcro it to the back. It's like, it's all these kludges to. You should always get, the biggest. I mean, that's why on my MacBook Pro, it's an M1, which is still really powerful. M1 Max. It's got a 4 terabyte disk, and that I'm always running out of space.
I've had so
Um,
many, like, data center capacity planning meetings. I can tell you're the guy with the hat on it, like, field of dreams. Yeah,
did I
he
say
did
no
say
to LangChain?
he may have said no to LangChain a couple times before as well. I think this is
I
a
think
long-term
I think
thing.
LangChain is amazing for the
Yeah,
right job.
Yeah.
but most jobs that people are building do not need LangChain. I mean, it's great, but it makes things more complicated. And why make? I mean, it's like wanting to host a web server and thinking, oh well, let me use Kubernetes. Well, yeah, you
There
can,
are a
but
lot of people who
it's a
think that.
whole lot worse. I mean, it's a whole lot easier ways of doing it than using Kubernetes. I mean, my favorite example of an article headline was, "Great Kubernetes. Now you have 8 problems,
Right. Or many more, 80?
or more." Yeah,
When your goal is to set up a resilient website and what you're looking for is an architecture that has clustering built in, I think is how they
and
get
you're
there.
going to install on more than one
Yeah.
box, and you're
Yeah.
going to be doing. Yeah, sure. There's situations where that makes sense, but yours probably isn't it.
So what I've been seeing from LangChain, just based on like partner sort of examples, sample repos, that kind of stuff, is it seems to be an easy way to load a library for the most of the time, just because LangChain has a few that work with different things. So if you want to work with this database and this cloud service and then this model sort of thing, LangChain has those built
Yeah,
in. And I feel
it
like people
is.
just grab that
Yeah.
instead of importing all of LangChain, though, you can still use those packages. You don't need to
Mhm.
use LangChain to be able to talk to a database.
It's a great way of having one paradigm, API paradigm way of working with things
Mhm.
if you are involving lots of tools. You've got
Right.
multiple vector
Many demands.
databases, and you've got
Mhm.
multiple LLMs from, maybe you're using a little bit of Claude and ChatGPT and Ollama, and you're trying to put all these things into one app. Yeah, okay, I could see LangChain being of use, but if you're building like a simple RAG application with just Ollama and just Chroma or PG Vector or whatever. Like adding LangChain just complicates things. And yeah, some documentation is good, but a lot of it's terrible. And so now you're spending, and now all your questions in like a Discord are about how do I use LangChain? Well, why are you using LangChain in the first place for
Right.
this simple app when it would be, rather that it'll be simpler, easier to understand if you don't bother with that stuff.
Now I got one more question because somebody
Yeah.
brought this to my attention recently, and I had not played around with it. But have you possibly used Crew AI? And this is more
I
about,
have
as
not.
opposed to multiple models, it's like multiple agents. And that's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, if we're in the agentic era,
Mhm.
or like
Yeah.
I don't know what we call this period of this long
Mhm.
discovery, it feels like being able to have tasks assigned to multiple agents, maybe another way around this. So, for example, you've got a PDF that has transformers that are a part of, sorry, I did the thumbs up, part of electronics, and then you've got transformers that are part of artificial
Yeah.
intelligence research. It could be that the task can be determined prior to sending it off to the model.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of where we're at, right? Like, how do I fork this? Is it a
Right.
library? Is it some online system? Is it a Lambda? What does that look like? How do I determine
Right.
using NLP that the question came in needs to go this direction? And it
Yeah.
seems it's a problem right now that has a couple solutions, and it doesn't seem to be that there's that one hammer that you hit everything with at this
Yeah.
point in time.
Yeah, I mean, of the agent type things, Crew definitely seems to be. I think they got their investor money right at the right time, and they,
Early
and
start,
the
first
guy
mover.
is. I think he's not sleeping at all, and he's like constantly producing stuff, and
Right.
he's really good at not only producing but sharing it. And so that guy who's behind it is. I mean, it would not be as successful if it were anyone else, I think. Um, I have not. I played around a little bit with like AutoGen and a few others. My my biggest beef again is a silly thing, but I hate using Python, and so I think I
Just
think
a
Crew
silly
is
thing. Yeah,
mostly a Python thing.
and I think
There
AutoGen is
are
as well, right?
huh?
Is
AutoGen is too.
AutoGen, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for no good reason. It's just where they're. It's
I
like
don't, do people still
it's
use
like
JavaScript?
Huh? See, absolutely. Well, I mean, I do use JavaScript. I've used TypeScript, and it's great. And
For the crowd,
so
I mainly only understand TypeScript and none of JavaScript, but I'm
yeah, I
okay with
don't.
Python.
Like when I originally started doing any stuff with TypeScript or JavaScript, anything related, I started with CoffeeScript before I knew anything about JavaScript. and then I pretty much transitioned to TypeScript without really knowing that. I mean, you don't really need to understand JavaScript to
Yeah, I
use
can't remember
TypeScript or CoffeeScript.
was CoffeeScript like the plugin system for Sublime Text or something like that? I come
Was it?
across it somewhere weird
Yeah,
and learned it, and I was like, this syntax is okay. Because my biggest problem with
yeah,
JavaScript is the syntax, which
yeah,
I understand, but I don't mind the TypeScript
yeah,
syntax. It makes a lot more sense to me. As somebody who like formally had studied
yeah,
Java, I feel like TypeScript is a better mix for me.
yeah.
But yeah, that is a good
And
point.
I think the tutorial that I listened to
Yeah,
for CoffeeScript, I
yeah.
want to say was by the guy who's now at Datadog from Peep Code.
Oh,
What's his name? Jeremy, or no, not newer hire. You know,
I'm sorry, I don't.
no?
I'm drawing a
Oh
blank.
God, what's his name? I think he's like, is he head of or running training? The like
Oh,
newer guy running training?
I'm not sure.
No.
I'm at a loss here. Sorry, I should know, but I don't.
Um. Anyway,
Not Tamara, not one of those people.
no, no.
Okay, okay. Hmm.
Okay.
Is CoffeeScript dead? Is the first thing that I look for when I look for CoffeeScript. Crazy.
Huh. He went to Pluralsight. Then I was at Datadog.
Interesting. No, doesn't ring a bell.
I'm gonna look for this guy's name
Oh,
now.
oh,
Jeffrey
oh,
Grossenbach.
oh, Jeffrey is awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
I've talked to Jeffrey a few times.
So I think I learned CoffeeScript from him.
Oh, that'd be good. He's got a nice the way he speaks, it has a cool tone to it. Yeah.
Have I? I mean,
Was it
I
interesting?
remember, huh? Yeah,
Yeah,
because
he's a good speaker.
all his tutorials were like got this like kind of airy hi, like this voice
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
like
yeah.
so. And I remember I once was at some event. I sit down for lunch, when we as a booth person, you finally have a break, you sit down at one of the empty tables with your lunch, and there was this other guy at the table. He worked at Pluralsight, and he started saying what he does, like, sorry, your voice just reminds me of this guy who used to make these tutorials. They were incredible. This site called Peep Code, like, that's my site.
That's awesome. Ah,
And then when I heard that he was at Datadog, I was like,
he's
oh,
just got like a very engaging kind of
yes,
way to speak.
yes,
Yeah, you know those people where
yeah,
you lean in, you want you.
yeah.
He's one of those people. I
He
lean
was
in.
great.
I want to learn more. Yeah, that's awesome. I love those little stories where you get
Yeah,
people coming back. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I think there's nothing. Oh, we
LangGraph.
got
No
one.
thoughts on LangGraph.
Yeah, one more. Wait, LangGraph. I also don't.
No, I have no knowledge of. I had no. I haven't. I mean, I know
Heard
of it,
of.
but I can spell it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I will look into
But
this. Interesting.
no, I have to see. What is LangGraph?
It's better building language agents as graphs, basically.
Oh yeah,
As part
yeah,
of LangChain. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, seems interesting. I think that might be more of like a response to Crew because this does seem to be
Yes.
similar to Crew AI. Just quickly reading through the summary here,
Yeah.
which is pretty sweet. So we talked about the iPad that you purchased, but was there any other stuff that you wanted to talk about? Things that you might have gotten, stuff you've watched, music you've listened to? Not so much.
Did I
Always
share
something
something
again.
that you?
I don't know. I feel like you shared it too soon that you purchased your iPad. Is there anything new you've been listening to? I can recommend something if not, if you need some time to think.
Oh, you're just asking like general stuff that
Yeah, we're almost at that time.
I can't think of anything that I have been. What did I tell you?
Well, the
Did I
iPad.
tell you something?
Yeah, you said you purchased an iPad today,
Yeah.
or pre-ordered, I guess, an iPad.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I was
Yes.
saying.
I'll see it in a month.
Yes. So what I would like to recommend is that everyone start re-listening to Garage Punk because I think we're in the neo Garage Punk phase where Garage Punk, which is just like really low budget punk, kind of the ethos of punk, has come back. And specifically, I think you might like Teenage Mortgage if you like older Garage Punk. And it's actually a really good band. If not, if you want something a little bit more hard, I think Bass Drum of Death is also really good. But these are my two recommendations. I say this because I feel like Teenage Mortgage is memorable. You'll remember this name because it's a weird mixture of terms. And Bass Drum of Death is kind of just this awesome image. Bass Drum of Death is kind of like Guitar Wolf in that everything's turned up to 12 a lot of the times, which is fantastic. Teenage Mortgage is very much more lo-fi. It sounds like it's been recorded on one of those like tape combo decks they were popular in the 80s in someone's like, I don't know, concrete basement. It's fantastic. It's great. So it's very much low polish but high quality for both these bands. That is, yeah. If you need some kicking tunes to, I don't know, do a workout or maybe fly through some code reviews, I think these are both great bands.
Wow.
There you go.
I can't think of
nothing.
anything else
You got
that
nothing?
I've gotten.
Did you try any?
I mean, I got.
I've been playing with Ollama 3 Uncensored and having a great time. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a new. So there's a new thing in Ollama, which is pretty cool.
What's that?
And that's all about concurrency. And I think that actually kind of fits into the. We did talk about that. Yes.
On this very podcast, almost 2 months ago. We certainly did. Yeah, and multiple GPU setups and what they look like. If you could do it in parallel,
No.
Or in a stream. Oh, okay.
No, that's not.
That's not this.
So
I was getting really excited.
The new thing that was added in Ollama 0.1.33, like last week, was the idea of being able to run multiple models at the same time.
Gotcha.
So multiple models and deal with multiple requests. Gotcha. So before, one of the early...
This did come up as a different question during the same episode, which is good. So we're not too far off point.
So one of the early videos to come out that was like not me, but somebody else was a guy named Matthew Berman, and he did a video showing Ollama and said, "This is amazing. They're loading up multiple models at the same time, and you're able to ask a question." And it's like, no, it wasn't.
Then we determined it wasn't. It was like unloading and reloading, basically.
Unloading and reloading, but it was a 7 billion parameter model. He's on a decent machine on a, I think it was on an M2, and for that kind of stuff, it loads really fast. It's if you're loading up a new model, it's far faster on Apple Silicon than it is on NVIDIA. It's just really, and he was looking at 7 billion parameter models, so it's just super fast to spin that up. So that made it look like we were loading up multiple models at the same time, but we weren't. What's new is being able to have, if you've got the amount of video memory available, you could have, on my 64 gig M1 Pro, M1 Max, I can load up, say, Llama 3 and Mistral and, a few other models all at the same time. And you can have multiple requests come in at the same time. So even on a single model, you could have, 4 requests, 10 requests that come in all at the same time, and it'll process all of them simultaneously, which is really cool. So this has been, people have asked, well, how do I host it? I want to have an Ollama server that I host.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how do I do this? Because I want to make all the money like ChatGPT does. Like, well, first off, you're going to need a bigger machine than you probably think. Then it's going to cost a lot of money, and even then, you're not going to make as much as OpenAI is making. But before, the solution was, okay, you spin up a machine, have Ollama on there, like a big machine with a big graphics card, and if you want to deal with multiple requests, you spin up another machine, you spin up another machine, you spin up another machine, and then you have
Docker,
one machine in front of all of them.
Yeah, which Docker becomes even more complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, or Docker. And you spin up a bunch of machines, and then another machine in front of that's kind of like the proxy to all of them.
Right.
And then you have to deal with user management, and it has to be sticky sessions and all that. So that was kind of the solution before. Now maybe you got an even bigger machine with a bigger graphics card or a bunch of graphics cards.
Right.
And now a single model can respond to up to I don't know if there's a limit. There's 100 things at the same time. But things start breaking down. Right now, it's an experimental feature. It's in the in the release notes, it says experimental. And I've seen that, the first 2 or 3 at the same time are pretty reliable.
Okay.
That third thing at the same time starts to sometimes not work as well. And definitely the fourth and fifth at the same time, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So, but then again, you could, on the one that fails, try it again.
Now, have
And
you
so
tried that with LM Studio? It'll allow you to load 2, but it's more
Mhm.
to ask the same question of both. So it's like if you're comparing 2 things,
Sure,
which is it's kind of a false comparison, but you can load
yeah.
2 models and ask the same question of both
At the same time, or is
at the
it
same
you?
time. At the
Okay,
same time. So you have to be
so
really
yeah,
judicious about like we
yeah,
were playing with an 8 gigabyte card, which is not recommended,
right,
and heavily quantized stuff. But we were able to
yeah,
this with my friend, we were able to load 2 at the same time and kind of
mhm,
compare them together.
yep,
But again, it's like an unfair comparison. And
mhm,
even though they're running at the same time and they may take up different memory footprints, that kind of
yeah,
stuff, they also return at completely different rates as a result,
sure,
which is kind of
yeah,
frustrating. So one might take 30 seconds, the other one could take 3 minutes, kind of thing.
right,
So it was quite annoying.
mm. So you've always been able to, like before, if you bring up two models within a UI, it
Right.
will answer the first question, and then when that's done, it'll load
Gotcha.
up the other one and answer the second question.
Gotcha.
And now, I've got in the video I put out on Thursday or Friday,
Mhm.
I was using Zellage. Do you know about Zellage?
No.
Oh, Zellage is pretty cool. So
Alright.
Zellage is kind of like Tmux,
Mm.
Zellij.
Yeah, found it.
But unlike Tmux, it's actually like possible for mirror models to use because it's got all the like shortcuts down at the bottom and the keyboard
That's
shortcuts
really
to
nice.
bring up different things actually make
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And so it's a lot
This is
easier to
your
work with.
checkout. Look at this freaking thing. It looks amazing. And it's written in Rust, I would guess, because there's
Yeah.
cargo
Oh
all over
yeah.
these screenshots.
Yeah.
Okay. Very
So
cool.
and then it's very easy to create layouts ahead of time. So I
Nice.
created a layout that is 3 identical columns, and in
Yeah, yeah,
each of
yeah.
those 3, I spin up 3 different models, and and then you can sync them. So once you've loaded up 3 different models, now as I type, "Why is the sky blue?" It types it in on all 3 of them. I press
Oh.
enter, and now I know all 3 of them start to respond at the same time, and
Oh.
they're all, like, showing the answer from 3 different models, and it
Yeah.
works. I mean, it's really cool.
I mean, iTerm can do that, but also, like, there's a lot more to
But
Zellage than just that.
it's really, really cool, yeah.
Yeah, it does look awesome.
So
I
that
like
was
this.
how I demoed, the concurrency,
Oh,
because
very cool.
for 3 and then I put out another video
Mhm.
yesterday that was about embedding and, here's how you can do embedding on and I was embedding, like I took War and Peace, split it up into smaller chunks, and then,
In Russian,
had it
obviously.
well, no, it was in English. It was whatever I could download from Project Gutenberg. I split it
Yep.
up into chunks, and then as m- had it do one at a time and timed that, and then two at a time, two embeddings at a time.
Right.
So there were always two or three
Just
or
so you
four,
could tell
all the way
the
up to
wheels were
10.
falling off. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and see how does it get slower? Because I always thought, and because somebody told me, well, it's going to get slower. It's going to get a lot slower. If it does one at a time and it takes 10 seconds to do one,
Right.
well, two is going to take 20 seconds or maybe 18 seconds or 17, some increase in time. But to do one on my MacBook Pro, I was doing like 10 sentence chunks. So it's somewhat variable number, but they were all 10 sentences. Um, and and I think, yeah. So then it on the MacBook Pro, it took 15 seconds to do one at a time.
Okay.
So only one. On a A100,
Yeah.
it took 45 seconds, so like 3 times longer.
Interesting.
Um, but that's probably just because of the time required to load the
Right.
text in.
Right.
It's a little slower. To once it's in there, then it's fast. Um, but then to do a two at a time instead of 15 seconds, the whole thing took 8 seconds total.
Ah.
And three was like 7 seconds,
Ah.
and four was like a smaller 7 seconds.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
faster and fast. And I mean, it's like this hockey stick, and it slowly gets,
Yep.
the improvement gets a little bit less. But it still is getting faster each time. Then, but at like four, you see, I was having it so that if it hit an error, it would just error out and it wouldn't try to convert it. That way I could see,
Right.
well, it got 100% of it right because there was an array of chunks and an array of embedded chunks. And I could say, well, the success was like 99% or 100% at the beginning. All of them were 100%. But after 4 or 5 at a time, it was getting to more like 99, 98, 96, 94. And so it was still doing most of it, but it was erroring a lot more often. But it was a
I,
lot faster. And so throw it
mm,
more, but have your error checking to say, well, if it's errors, then do it again. It's probably still going to be faster than what you were getting before. So it's
right.
really, that's pretty
Your
cool.
retry is going to be faster. That is really cool,
Yeah.
especially if you have the ability to load like a, was it 80 billion now? Is Llama 3 like a 70, 80 billion
Mm,
parameter model, as well as like a 7B or a
yeah.
heavily quantized version in case, like, I don't know, you
Yeah.
hit saturation or you're busy and you prompt your users, hey, would you like a less accurate answer that might be
Right.
more creative or something like that? Would
Yeah.
you, or like, would you like to drop down to the quantized version because we're saturated or something like that? But being able
Yeah.
to give that sort of like pipe is kind of interesting with one video card, actually.
Right. So that's a great example. You have the 70 billion and have the 7 billion. Ask a question. The 7 billion comes out back faster. You've got an instant answer, almost instantaneous. But by the time it's like kind of finished, the 7 billion or 70 billion starts answering and it kind of replaces
Right,
the first one. So you get the rush from having an answer real quick, but
right.
you still get the better answer in the long run. That's pretty cool.
And have you used Gemini 1.5? Because one thing that it does, and that just the GUI that I really liked, is it will give you 3 answers. You'll see
Mm,
one, and then there's like a, I don't know what they call that little widget, but it's a pagination widget, so you can flip through the cards basically, and there's
mm,
2 other cards. They'll have 2
right.
other answers. What I find interesting is that I'm sure you're training the model as you pick the answer that you like
Right.
more, which I find
Right.
interesting. So they're building in kind of a training functionality, as well as it seems like they all render at different speeds. So the
Yeah.
first one will come up, but I think it might be the longest one, and the other ones
Mm,
actually may already be done by the time the first one appears.
mm,
And sometimes you can like kind of mouse over and look at those
mhm.
other answers too. But you are getting 3 generally different answers, even though they
Okay,
all
yeah.
might be correct, but they're all different
Yeah,
levels of like correctness versus creativity, that kind of stuff. There's an interesting mix, but I
right.
like that capability. I think maybe I'm used to it from image generation, where you generally get like a 4-up, so you'd have a
Yeah,
like a 2 by 2 square kind of thing, and in
right,
the Adobe apps you get like 3 options, that kind of stuff. But it is good to
right.
have options when you're given an
Yeah,
answer. So even then, if you're, because sometimes the quantized models actually give perfectly fine answers
great answers,
really, really
yeah,
quickly. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, like,
Yeah,
I can
so
just
Misty was an app that I did a video on
right.
last week. Some people didn't like it because,
Really?
it's embedding Ollama rather than relying on Ollama. So you don't
Ah,
have to have Ollama already installed. But one of the I mean, that was like
just
the
with embedded
original
included, kinda?
the original goal of Ollama is this developer tool, and you want to have Ollama kind of embedded in the product.
Right.
Um, and so it's kind of fits along with how we were originally envisioning Ollama, but people didn't like it because it was embedded rather than down. And the guy's not signing some releases, so there's
Fair enough.
potential problems. Uh, but what's really nice about Misty was this branching idea. And so you could start a conversation and then have it create additional branches with, asking the same question again or refining the question. And so it's got really easy to access ways to refine, like make it simpler, make it more complicated, make it for, whatever other refinements there are. And then you create these like 3 different answers, but you could continue one of them, go down and then continue another one. And as you
Oh,
swap the
that's
answer from
cool.
this one to this
Yeah.
one, it swaps
Okay.
all the things below.
That's really
Kind of like if you can imagine like a GitHub or Git graph, the graph of
great.
commits,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that kind of thing. They don't do that visualization yet, which I think would make things so much better if they
Much.
had that
Like the Git
visualization.
tracking, right? That was this big thing, was the visualization.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
So that's does it really well. And some of the other tools also have this idea of asking the question multiple times and being able to flip between all the different answers. So,
I didn't realize Misty could do this, so I should probably check it out because that is really interesting.
there's a video that tells you.
Oh, who made the video?
I might have made a video.
I do try to watch at least like the first
Everything?
intro of your video so I can hit the thumbs up and it being legit. But yes, I should probably watch the whole video.
Yes. Yes.
I apologize. I have subscribed though. I'm not sure if I'm notified. The bell icon. I haven't hit the bell icon.
Yeah.
Yet. We'll get there. We haven't.
Yeah.
We're not at that level of maturity.
There
you go. Somebody actually watched the video and said thanks.
Somebody.
Somebody.
The number. So I added up the numbers of since I started doing the Ollama videos.
Mm-hmm.
My view count. I added this up a few days ago. I think the number of views for Ollama related videos of mine is up to about 550,000.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's way more than I've gotten. I think I've published like maybe 1,000 videos at this point.
Yeah.
But they're all no comment gameplay videos.
Yeah.
Not really high traction. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mr. Mini Pilot, the person who did watch the video on Misty, said that they're still looking for a GUI that does everything.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat, honestly.
I've got another video coming out on Thursday about Page Assist.
Okay.
You know about this one?
I do.
So Open Web UI installs with a Docker container, and some people don't like that because Docker is potentially more complicated. Now it means I have to install Docker, and you can install Open Web UI without Docker, but it's kind of a ordeal to install that. So and then there's Misty, but some people don't like that because it's trying to do too much and they make it really easy, and they don't want that. What's neat about Page Assist is that it's an extension for Google Chrome.
And this isn't Procreate, right? Maybe I pulled up the wrong Page Assist.
Procreate? What?
Yeah.
No, Page Assist. No, not that Page Assist.
Yeah.
There's a Page Assist extension, and it works with Ollama. You don't have to set any environment variables. It just works.
Found it.
And it's a really nice, simple UI. It's even got RAG in there, and it's really good. Its main feature, or I guess the reason it's called Page Assist, is that it will open a sidebar, and so you can ask the page that you're on about questions. Except that sidebar is kind of garbage.
Oh, that's like one of the main features.
It's like the main feature that they advertise, but it's like worthless because as soon as you move to a different page, you have to close the sidebar and open the sidebar, but the keyboard shortcut doesn't close the sidebar. It only opens the sidebar because of a problem in Chrome.
Apps?
and it's and the sidebar only actually works in Chrome and Brave and I think Edge, but not other Chrome-like browsers like Arc. But even in Chrome and Brave, it sometimes works, sort of works, but not really. So it's like, yes, it's the main feature, but it's worthless. All the other features are great, but that thing is so Page Assist is really cool.
And for those looking for it, it's Page -assist, not Page space assist, and not Page assist. Those are two other completely different things.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a video on Thursday about that. So
very cool. I will watch it.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Anything else? Do we miss stuff?
I don't think of anything else. Oh, I saw a movie. Maybe you've seen it. It was just the other night.
Did it have a lot of
flipped on the
sand in
TV. Huh?
it? No, it didn't have a lot of sand in it. It wasn't Doom 2?
It did have a lot of sand in it.
Oh, okay. Lawrence of Arabia.
No. So we turned on Apple, we were flipped over from Amazon Prime to Apple Plus or whatever, TV Plus. And it's like, you've seen that in a while? No, I haven't seen it in a while. It's not in years and years and years. And so we watched Gladiator again.
Oh,
Ah!
no. I've never seen it more than once. Does it even hold up to more than one viewing?
Oh my God, it's fantastic.
The acting is so bad.
Wonderful.
I can scream too.
It was great. So
I should
wait,
rewatch
talking about the same thing?
Yeah, we're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Are you not entertained? This is the same movie, right?
Oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
Yeah, he slays some
Yeah.
lions and stuff,
Yeah.
and then yells at the audience. Yeah.
Versus, I mean, the other alternative was 300, which I didn't like as much.
That definitely I have watched since. Did not age as it's like
No. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, Gladiator is probably the better movie. I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah, that's that's a pretty easy call. All right.
Wow, the
folks.
numbers our viewers we're now at 44.
Whew, this is amazing. Number goes up.
And
Hockey.
did you see the number of people who have watched last week's stream?
I did not. How
Like
many?
400 or something?
Whew. This is getting ridiculous. We gotta settle down.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But
And
I
we
can't be here next week.
Okay. Not next week, and no Zack Snyder movies. Got it.
No, okay. All right.
Agreed.
Shall we find the end stream button?
I think we should try to do it.
Okay. Thanks so much, everyone.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks for all the comments.
Yeah.